Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to your weekly tarot reading. So, as always, take what resonates with you and leave the rest with me, because it may be for somebody else. As always, I clean my deck, or clear my deck, shuffle, and we get into the reading. Let's see what comes up. Of course, I'm asking my guides to please give me a message for this week, for your highest good, whatever that may be. Right, and let's see. So we have the Six of Coins, we have the Two of Wands, the Magician, the Wheel, some new cards, Knight of Swords, Six of Wands, the Four of Wands, the Knight of Cups, Page of Wands, the Five of Coins, the Two of Cups, the Two of Coins, the Queen of Swords, and lastly we have the Hanged Man. Some very nice major arcanas coming up. We have the Five of Cups over here. We have the Seven of Wands over here, the Priestess, and the King of Cups. We have a lot of major arcanas this week. Some new ones that we haven't seen before. So let's get into it. Let's see what it's all about. So we start with the Six of Coins. So now this is where you are right now. This is the current path that you're on, and it is being aided by the Two of Wands. Now the Six of Coins represents sharing in newly obtained wealth, or sharing in your wealth that you've obtained. Now, from going from last week to this week, it's all about gaining that brand new wealth, overcoming that chaos, and finding that new form of wealth, and now you're able to share it. Right? The Two of Wands represents opportunities. It represents open doors. It represents many paths. It represents that you can. It doesn't matter which path you go down, left or right. You know that you'll make the right decision in the end. You'll share it, and you'll prosper in that wealth. The Six of Coins and the Two of Wands together. You'll gain new wealth. You'll share in it, and you have many lessons that you can go down. You get many paths, many options that you can go down. Right? Then we have the Four of Wands. We have the Magician, a new one this week, and we have the Page of Wands. So the Four of Wands represents stability. It represents, again, more opening doors. Now this one is a much bigger door than the Two of Wands, but the Two of Wands leads you down a winding path. It leads you down opportunity to opportunity to opportunity, eventually getting to the Four of Wands, which is the big door. It's the treasure room. It's the door at the end of the castle, where the king sits, where the queen sits. This is where the biggest form of wealth, the biggest opportunity comes. It leads you to that point, step by step by step. And you get to the Four of Wands. That major stability, external, internal, financial, relationship, it just creates a lot of stability. Four walls, palace, all that kind of stuff. And then it leads you to the Magician as well. The Magician represents manifestation. It represents whatever you want in life. You have the resources at your disposal to create and manifest anything you want in life. The Magician is you. You are the Magician. The Magician is hidden behind this door, behind the Four of Wands. So on the Magician, you have the cups, you have the wands, you have the swords, you have the coins, you have all of those things, all of the resources to create the opportunities and create the desires that you want in life. Of course, it's not just all about wishing it to come true and then it comes true. There's no actual magic at play, but there is. You create this desire, you create this opportunity, you seek something in life, and you work towards it. And along with the help from your spirit guides, from your higher self, from the ancestors, that is the magic that helps you along your path. They will aid you along this path, and you'll be able to get to that major door, that massive opportunity, that treasure, right? We're also met with the Page of Wands. Now, the Page of Wands we've seen before. This represents sort of an unknowing, right? Every time we start out on a new journey, or we come into new forms of wealth or new opportunities, we're not quite sure how we're going to go about getting to that end goal. But as we progress through our journey, step by step, opportunity to opportunity, objective, chaos, we gain more knowledge, we gain more strength, we gain more assertiveness, we gain more confidence, and then we start leveling up, right? And then we get to the point where we become the king, or we become the queen of that suit, and we understand everything. And then we go back down to level 1 again, and we don't know what we're doing again. But we have all this level, we have all this experience and knowledge behind our back. We have the wheel, a new one coming up this week. The wheel represents an ending of a cycle, beginning of a new. It is the karma card, the karmic card in the tarot deck. At least for me, it is. So the wheel represents that ending of the old and the beginning of the new. So again, new journeys ahead. But that also represents that whatever cycle you are on up until now, usually like a 4-year cycle, sometimes even an 8-year cycle, whatever this cycle that you were on is now finally coming to an end. It's reaching that point where a whole brand new journey, lifelong journey, is going to begin. Like 8-year long journey. Now within this journey, you will have many different smaller journeys, right? Sub journeys, if you will. But this major, impactful, life-altering journey is now coming to an end, and you're about to start a brand new one, where the Page of Cups or the Page of Wands will be ever present. You will not know what you're doing until you get through that first hurdle, that first block in the road, right? But in saying that, the Knight of Swords is also with you in this journey of the wheel. The Knight of Swords allows you to charge forward with a bunch of confidence. So Knight of Swords is all about the mental thing. So maybe this new journey is a lot to stimulate that mental mindset, changing of the mental mindset, maybe gaining more intellectual strength or intellectual clarity, if you will, or even connecting more with the spiritual intelligence, the source, the unconscious, the collective unconsciousness. There's a lot of head work going into this new journey, but it's not even going to be a slow paced thing. It's charging forward. There's a lot of forward momentum with this new journey, and along with the Knight of Swords, we have the Knight of Cups. So not only will it be, at first, it will start off as mental strength, mental or intellectual gathering of strength. And all right, sorry, I actually had to pause there for a second because this reading it's caused me to actually lose my train of thought. I had to pause and gather myself for a moment and just connect with my guides and my higher self to realize what this reading is saying. This new journey that you're about to go on, because there's so much forward movement, especially with the mind, especially with the Knight of Swords, it might even become so much that you lose your train of thought. Your mind races forward 10,000 miles ahead while your body's still trying to catch up. And then you get to a point where you don't know what to say or what to do or how to act. So apologies, but there's a real world example of what you may experience. I don't think I'm going to cut it out the video because I feel like that's perfectly part of the reading. So we'll move on to the Knight of Cups, right? So like I say, you get to the Knight of Swords, your mind races forward immediately, and then like your body's trying to catch up. Your body's trying to catch up after it. The Knight of Cups is the emotions trailing along, trying to keep up with the Knight of Swords who's racing ahead. The Knight of Cups is not necessarily one to chase. Emotions don't move as quickly as your mind can run. Emotions take time. Emotions adapt. Emotions mold. They are. It's a much slower process to gaining that strength because there's a lot more sensitivity behind it. Right, it's dealing with our heart, our soul. It's more sacred than that. With your mind, it's racing. So there's a lot of that coming up in your life. But in saying that, we get to my favorite card of the tarot deck. I'm a little bit biased when it comes to this card, the Six of Wands. And the only message that comes from the Six of Wands is victory. I haven't seen it come up in any other reading where it meant anything else. This card ultimately only means victory. So although your mind's going to be racing ahead and then your emotions are going to take a little bit longer to catch up, you are racing towards this victory. You are charging towards this victory. You will obtain this victory. And no longer will you be feeling like you've been left out in the darkness. Or this Five of Wands is that the Five of Wands we've had in previous readings, where it feels like you have lack of or less, or it feels like you don't have any wealth, like you've lost all of it. This new journey is deleting that. You can put it that way, right? It's getting you to the point where you feel victorious, that you have no longer, you don't have this feeling of feeling lost anymore, feeling like you have less than. So it's a brilliant ending to a somewhat chaotic journey, if I do say so myself. Moving forward from that, we have the Two of Cups. Two of Cups. Now, this is the week of the 14th. It is the month of love. Two of Cups represents relationships. Two of Cups can represent the relationship not only with your significant other, but a new relationship with yourself as well. That can also mean a bunch of other things like business relationships and so on and so forth. But gathering from everything that we've gathered so far, I feel like this is relating more towards a relationship with yourself, as well as possibly even that significant other. You gain that new relationship, or even strengthen the one that you already have, especially when you're going through this life-altering journey, right? And you're getting to the end of the journey, you're starting a whole brand new one. This is now the time to reflect on everything that you've dealt with in the past, right? The whole journey that got you here in the first place, and realize what parts of you have altered, what parts of you have gotten better, what parts of you have you left behind. It's sort of like a New Year's resolution, but for your soul. A soul year's resolution. Every 14th of Feb, do that instead, right? So you're starting to understand this new version of yourself, starting to love the new version of yourself, starting to realize where you've come from, the challenges that you've overcome, the parts of you that no longer exist but still get acknowledged, right? And we get to the Two of Coins afterwards. The Two of Coins also represents balance. It represents wealth, and it goes in very well with the Two of Cups. Two of Cups is more about emotions. The Two of Coins is more about that wealth, that soul level balancing, right? Again, from previous readings, we've gone through chaos and chaos and chaos and even more chaos, and sprinkled over with a little bit more chaos. Now we get to a point where we're ending that cycle, and we understand what balance truly means. Now that we have that perfect balance, we've reached the Six of Wands. We've reached that victory, right? So that's what victory looks like, that balance. And to clarify it even more, we have the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords doesn't take any nonsense. Right? Whenever she sees something that doesn't belong in her circle, she immediately cuts it out, swiftly, aggressively, assertively. The swords are very clean cut. Right, so, and finally we move over to the final card of the day, which is the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man represents surrender. Now, surrender doesn't mean giving up. Surrender means that there's an understanding to realizing that there are certain things that are bigger than ourselves. There is aspects that we cannot always control, even when it comes to us, when it comes to our own soul, our own emotions, our own mental state. There are things that we just cannot control. The Hanged Man represents giving that up to the universe, giving that up, or surrendering that over to our higher self, our spirit guides, our angels, our gods, whatever religion we're part of, surrendering that to them. That's not a weakness. In my opinion, I see it more as a strength, because hanging on to this idea that you can control everything will just tear you apart. It will destroy your confidence. It will destroy your mental state. It will just cause a lot of stress, anxiety, chaos. Surrendering that over to the universe clears your mind, it clears your heart, it clears your soul. It allows you to focus on what's truly important and move past whatever obstacle is in your way. As always, we look at the last outline cards, just gives you extra information. So we have the Five of Cups. It goes hand in hand with the Five of Coins, because when we have the Five of Coins, that we lose all of our wealth, we also lose that emotional state, right? We get to a point where we get in a bit of a depression when we lose our wealth. We have the Seven of Wands, which represents that chaos that we've just overcome from last week to now. We have the King of Cups. So we move over from the Five of Coins to the King of Cups. that represents, again, we go from loss to overwhelming abundance. We've reached the top of the game, the top of the castle. We've reached our 6 of Wands, right? And finally, we have the priestess, which is just knowledge, internal knowledge, spiritual knowledge, emotional knowledge, actual and intellectual knowledge. It's not necessarily there to express to others how much knowledge we've gained over this journey, but for us to understand how far we've come. Like I mentioned with the Two of Cups, the time for reflection, to understand how far we've come on this journey. Right? So, again, if that resonated with you, please take what resonates. And at the end of all of my readings, I like to pull out all the major arcana to find out what the major life lessons are. And we only have 4 this week. So we'll see what that all represents now. Right. So the 4 major arcana for this week is the Magician. The Magician represents manifestation. It represents you are the Magician. You have all the resources. You have the emotions of the cups. You have the mental strength of the swords. You have the opportunity and the prosperity of the wands. And you have, I can't remember what the last one was. Coins? Was? Do that one again. Right. So the major arcana for this week, we have the Magician. So it's important to remember that you are the Magician. You have all the resources at your disposal to manifest anything you want and desire. You have the mental strength of the swords. You have the wealth of the coins. You have the emotions of the cups. And you have the prosperity and the opportunities of the wands. You have everything at your disposal to manifest your hopes and desires. First, figure out what it is you want in your life and work towards that. Work hand in hand with the Magician. Work hand in hand with the guides and your higher self to get to this end goal. We have the wheel. The wheel represents an ending of a lifelong cycle and a beginning of a brand new one. We've just come out of a 4 to 8 year cycle where we have learned major life lessons, and now we're heading over into the next phase of our life. This wheel represents the next book in your life. Consider the wheel, or consider this journey as a book with many chapters, and all these different chapters has its own little obstacles and journeys along with it. We have the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man represents surrender. Surrender doesn't mean weakness. Surrender means understanding that there are certain things in life that we cannot control. And even in our daily lives, when it comes to our emotions, when it comes to our soul, when it comes to our mental state, there are certain things that are just bigger than us, and we cannot control everything. Surrender represents giving that up to the universe, surrendering that to our higher self, our spirit guides, our angels, whatever religion we're part of, our gods, and understanding that they've got our backs. Then we finally have the priestess, and the priestess represents an all-knowing force, an understanding of our soul, an understanding of our emotions, an understanding of our mental state, and the opportunities and the external forces that influence our lives. And that only comes from dealing with dealing with the wheel, and dealing with surrender, and dealing with all these opportunities and all these different challenges that we've overcome through this journey. We gain that knowledge of who we are and where we've come from. So, if that reading resonated with you, please consider giving this a like. Please consider subscribing to my channel for more videos to come, and I will see you in the next video.